Welcome to our video series. This is the first of 3 videos that our guest trainer, Stan Means, will be providing for us on the role of the church in dealing with seniors, meaning those who are of retirement age. Stan is the president and CEO of Elder Source Senior Ministries. Their mission as an organization, as a faith-based organization, is to inspire seniors to live with purpose by honoring God. They also want to help families and each church strengthen and unite together to serve seniors in their communities. And so Stan has a wonderful ministry, and this is an opportunity for any pastor, lay leader, church family, or an individual family to grab a hold of the information he is about to share with us in these 3 videos and apply it in your everyday life. So Stan, I'm so thankful to have you with us, and I want to turn it over to you for this first presentation.
Marshall, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I kind of frame in my own thinking this ministry that it's a ministry that we give away. We don't keep it, we give it away. And this first presentation on the role of the church is an example of that. You see the lower title there in gray, "The Fields Are White in the Harvest." I grew up in the Missions Church and was part of the Missions Church for most of my adult life. And now being in senior ministry or ministry for seniors, to seniors, that phrase, "the fields are white in the harvest," has a new meaning for me as we see in this slide the age wave statistics. Some of these are really amazing when you stop to think about it. The 2/3 of all people 65 and older who have ever lived are alive today. I don't know how they calculate something like that. Whether you believe that statistic or not is really immaterial. But the fact is, from 1946 on, we have been building this baby boomers into a movement that has rocked society all the way from the 50s and 60s of the rock movement, the drug movement. Now these baby boomers are retiring at a rate of 10,000 a day. Our parents are living longer, and we are part, not just the United States, most industrialized developed nations are in this age wave that is catching many by surprise.
Stan, I had no idea until you showed me this information, how powerful the opportunity is for our church families to reach out into this area, because truly the harvest is white, and to neglect this area of ministry to me seems very poor stewardship.
True, exactly. The last bullet point: older adults are the fastest growing segment of the U.S. population. We'll see in slides coming up, but sometimes I think that doesn't catch our attention. If we really did believe from a church vantage point that older adults are the fastest growing segment, what changes would we make in our ministry if we really believed that? Just some general age wave statistics on the second slide. It's more from a business standpoint, but you kind of begin to see this picture being painted from the first slide of the number of seniors being driven by the baby boomers and our parents, how this age wave has developed over the last few decades. But these are some surprising things. Seniors control 50% of all discretionary spending and 75% of all assets. We just don't think of that. We have this idea, I think, sometimes that we hear statistics like the majority of people retire with less than $1,000. You know, there's statistics thrown around all the time, but when you see that seniors control 50% of all discretionary spending and have 75% of all assets, what about women controlling 80% of household spending women over 50. 1 out of 4 suicides is a senior. We don't think of these things. That statistic, the last two, the 1 out of 4 seniors, 1 out of 4 suicides, a senior white men over 80 or 6 times more likely to commit suicide. That goes to this part of loneliness that the senior has, the isolation that the senior has, and society, and I mean society in general, families, and even the church contribute to this loneliness by forgetting about them.
I'm sitting here thinking about all the resources that your ministry provides for individuals, for families, and church families to be able to minister and reach these folks in a tremendous time of need, loneliness, the things that you've mentioned. And I look forward to you telling us some about the resources that your ministry provides to help anyone who wants to take action to help, to reach them with the gospel.
That's right. We'll get into many of those helpful things in the next 2 sessions we'll be doing. I like the expression on this man's face. He's an older man. You can tell he's meditating. He's contemplating. And you just look into his eyes. You see his left hand supporting his chin. And I just have to look and think, what's going through his mind? And then the title, Where is the Church? I think if we took a survey of the seniors that are in our church, that were in our church, that are no longer part of the church, we might be very surprised. I was giving a presentation down in Florida, and there's a pastor that makes a comment in the slide presentation that we had. And after that, a lady came up to me and said, I need to take issue with what you said in that presentation. And I won't go on with what she took issue with, but it's the example that she gave. She said, my mother was very active in her church for decades as a volunteer. Her health broke to the point where she couldn't stay at home any longer. So she said, I found an assisted living place that was 1.5 blocks from her church so that she could still, when she's able, come to church and the church could come to her. She had lived there for a number of months and the pastor had yet to visit her. And she said this wasn't a large church. So she went to the pastor and said, why haven't you come to visit my mother? She's been so active in your church. He said, that's just not my thing. I'm just not comfortable with that. 2 passages that I like to look at. There are many, but Titus chapter 2 and James 1:27. If we would just take some serious look at that, then it might cause us to reflect and to adjust how the local church is using seniors and ministering to them at the same time. Titus chapter 2, just real quickly, it gives instructions on how to teach older men. I find that interesting. I don't remember, and I'm 60 years old, I don't remember, not saying it never happened, I don't remember ever hearing a message on Titus chapter 2. Never. Titus chapter 2 gives instructions how to teach the older men. Why? So that they can teach the younger men. It gives instructions on how to teach the older women. Why? So they can be teachers and examples to the younger. James 1:27. 2 groups, orphans and widows. And I've often said, I think our society does a pretty good job of youth ministry, even to the point we don't have orphanages anymore, but I think we do a good job overall with needy children. I was meeting in Columbia, South Carolina. That's South Carolina capital. I'm on the Lieutenant Governor's Advisory Council on Aging, and I was in a meeting. And this is a lady who runs a statewide conservative political organization. And she knows me and knew why I was in Columbia that day, and we had lunch. She made a comment that has stuck with me ever since. It wasn't directly relating to seniors, but the principle is right on. She said, Stan, if the churches in South Carolina would get behind the foster child program, we wouldn't have a foster care program in South Carolina. So what was she saying? If churches would get behind, we're going to be part of the foster care system. We as a church are going to train families, get them certified so they can take in foster care children. What a ministry that would be. But what she was saying, there wouldn't be a foster care problem if the churches would engage. And I see that when it comes to the older population. We can say that our worship is pure if we're helping those who can't help themselves. And many of the seniors are that way. Why do we help them? James 1:27. That's what God says is pure religion. My translation, we help those who can't help themselves. Orphans, younger children, they can't return the favor. They can't write a check, put it in the plate. But it's what God says we do if we want our worship to be pure in Him. So this really concludes the first. I wanted to make it short so it doesn't take people's time. There's more information on our website, 2 more videos coming, and we'll get into some very specifics.
Well, Stan, thank you so much for this. And folks, this is the first of 3. We've got 2 more that he is going to challenge us in different areas and give us information we need in order to help your ministry, your church, your family reach out and minister to seniors. And this has been very informative, very convicting. And I trust that that's the purpose of our video, is to help people, propel them and lead them, encourage them, inspire them to take action in their own community and to work with God toward a harvest of souls in the senior world. Well, Stan, thank you so much for this, and we look forward to part 2.